Hello everybody, welcome back to another Battle Brothers guide video. Today on backgrounds, specifically backgrounds that I think are underutilized by not only myself, but player bases as a whole, because I don't really see many of these, or hear much talk about them being very good. So first off, I want to look at Beastlayers. Beastlayers are very good. They have their own background dedicated to them, or origin dedicated to them. What you notice is that they're about a little bit below where the Sellsword and Adventurous Noble backgrounds are. They don't have a very good defense, and that's kind of what's holding them back. But they have really good resolve, enough resolve to where you don't need to level them. They have plus initiative, which I don't actually give a shit about, but it's nice. It's nice to have initiative. They're in a tier of most the lower backgrounds have like 47 to 57 melee attack. And the high ones have like 57 to 67. So here we're at 52-62, which is a good middle ground. You actually have some pretty decent range attack as well, which means these can make really good hybrids. They also have a little bit of plus max HP over the average, so that's really nice as well. And they have really good stam, or not really good stam. They have above average stam. So overall, Beastlayers are really quite good. They have good events too. So there's a few of them that'll get you some good stuff. Like Dried Oasis, I know, is one of them. I think Alp in the Hole is another one that's pretty good. Next is Disowned Nobles. Disowned Nobles are I think they're given a kind of a bad rap, a little bit rightfully so. So there's the Adventurous Noble, which is obviously very good. Then there's the Bastard, which can have -5 melee defense if it min rolls, and it has like really bad resolve. The Disowned Noble, I think, is kind of in a good middle ground. If the Disowned Noble rolls well, it's really, really good. Like 67-48 for melee and range attack is awesome. 8 melee defense is good, and you can't go negative. The resolve is kind of bad, but like it's workable when it rolls well or average. Same with stam. Stam can be okay if you get a high roll on the stam. The issue is when the Disowned Noble rolls like shit. 55 is like okay. 35 is bad. 0 for the defense is bad. 80 stam is abysmal. 25 resolve is also abysmal. So if you get a good Disowned Noble, I think Disowned Nobles could be really good. If you max roll, they could be good for just frontline. They could also be good for good hybrids because of that 48 range attack. I guess you could also get an archer out of that, but you can definitely find better pure ranged characters. So this is a good hybrid background. Next is one I'm not even sure I've ever hired in my life, besides maybe like twice, as a Gravedigger. The Gravedigger, well, by no means is like good, or like, you know, like phenomenal. The lower tier backgrounds, I think, are best exemplified by the what I want to call the trio of good backgrounds, which is the Brawler, the Butcher, and the Farmhand. Those three are all really, really good, and they're all really, really dirt cheap. So the Gravedigger, and they all have the 47 to 57 melee attack. That's kind of what I'm basing that off of. So the Gravedigger has a plus max HP, has plus stam, and has plus resolve. That's all good. Minus minimum initiative, no one cares. I don't think. Maybe some people do. But I don't think that's that big of an issue, because Gravedigger is an early game background. And early game 5 minimum initiative is not really a problem. It's not even max initiative either, it's just minimum initiative. So it's really not that big of an issue. So I would not stress about that at all. Hire some Gravediggers. They're better than you would think. I would imagine they'd be trash, like the Refugee or something, but they're not. The Grave Robber, coincidentally, is also actually pretty good. They have good resolve. They have max initiative, which I also don't care about that much. I guess maybe if you're going for like an initiative build, but usually I'm not going to. They have plus stam, which is good. Plus maximum defense is fine. It's not amazing. It's only +1, but it's better than nothing. You get plus minimum melee attack, so if you can get a little bit of a star or two there, they'll never be like ultra terrible at melee attack. So again, a decent enough background, and they're dirt fucking cheap. Next up is the Messenger. The Messenger, I think, can actually be a pretty good tank, weirdly enough. The Messenger has +2 to melee defense, maximum, which means if you get a high roll, if you like triple starred on 7, that's 42. Which is like end game mammoth levels of melee defense. Sometimes I look for a farmhand with triple, and he's got 4 or 5, and that's good enough for me. but 7 is really good as well. Plus stam as well means the stam's always going to be good. Not farmhand levels, but still pretty good. And plus resolve is good because the farmhand has minus resolve for minimum and maximum. And right here we're looking at about a little bit above average resolve. Again, the melee attack is usual. The HP is usual. So the messenger I think is a little bit worse than the farmhand overall, but that's arguable. I think the stam on the farmhand is just really good, and the HP on the farmhand is also really good. But the messenger is kind of like a poor man's farmhand, and again, it's dirt cheap. Next up is the Peddler. The Peddler has, I think, the worst melee attack in the game. It's worse than the Monk. It's worse than the Cripple. It's just so bad. So I would never use a Peddler as a melee unit. Just absolutely horrible. But as an early game tank, it could actually be pretty good because it can roll 12 for its melee defense. And the highest, I think, besides Swordmasters, is 13, unlike the Adventurous Noble and the Sellsword and the Gladiator. And I think those are the 3 that have the highest. So besides the Swordmaster. So this is really good. The rest of the Peddler I think is trash. As pretty you can look at it. It's average or it's below average. The initiative is a little bit higher, but that's like kind of okay. Next is the Shepherd. The Shepherd is not a very impressive background, but plus maximum stam is fine. What I want to note about the Shepherd is that it's actually an okay archer because it can get 49 ranged attack. So it might be worth it if you have like a tryout mod or you just want an archer and you see that there's like a Shepherd with a couple of ranged stars. You can maybe see if he's good. 37 is terrible, but 49 if he max rolls is actually pretty usable. Next is the Thief. The Thief is good for melee attack, but the Thief again is like a better Peddler. It's just a better Peddler, straight up, like absolutely better, because it can get 13 melee defense, which again is really really awesome. Has plus resolve, minimum resolve, and does have that plus initiative, and a plus initiative to an amount that actually matters. So you're always going to have good initiative, which means you can always make an initiative guy if you need to. So that's really awesome. I don't really think Thieves are that great for offensive because they just have that 47-57. You can obviously find like a good Thief, but on the whole, Thieves are best used as tanks. And Thieves do have some decent events too, where you can get like jeweled rings and shit like that. Finally, I want to look at the Vagabond. The Vagabond, I thought for a long time was bad, just like the Refugee, or the Beggar, or the Cripple, or the Peddler, or whatever. Or the Daytailer, it's like a lot of the ones that don't add much at all, are very average. But the Vagabond actually is kind of like a poor man's farmhand again, and that has plus stam. That has really, really big plus stam. Minus resolve is not good, but the farmhand again is minus resolve. Minus minimum HP is bad, but that's not enough to really warrant that much. Like 53.5 average HP versus 55 average HP for the average of the whole game, which really isn't that big of a difference. So I think the Vagabond is kind of like a poor man's messenger, which is kind of like a poor man's farmhand. The farmhand I still think is good. The messenger is arguably better than the farmhand at a tank roll. Probably, it depends on that HP, and the farmhand is really, really good. But overall, I think all of these backgrounds are more usable than a lot of people are giving them credit for. So, Beastlayers and Disowned Nobles can be good hybrids. The Shepherd can be a good range character. Thieves and Peddlers can make good tanks. The Vagabond can make a good early frontline just because he has a bunch of stam. Same with the Messenger. The Grave Robber and the Gravedigger can also make pretty decent early frontline. None of these I think are really late game, except for maybe the Beastlayer and the Disowned Noble, if you get a good one. But the rest, and maybe a really good Thief roll. But all for early game, when you're hiring all these dirt cheap backgrounds, again, except for the first two, could be really useful. And it makes you not have to just like wait on another farmhand or wait on another, brawler or butcher or caravan hand or monk or something. That's really, really useful, I think. So just know that some of these backgrounds are better. Hope you found some of this helpful, insightful, informative. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.